Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ramandeep. Over the years, my work with children on autism spectrum has taught me that some of the most profound challenges that they face are not always visible. They lie deep within, often beyond the words or behaviors. This brings us to the heart of today's talk, interoception, the inner sense that helps us understand what's happening inside our bodies and its unique role in autism. The session is titled From Within Interoception and Autism, and through this, we'll explore how this lesser known sensory system influences self regulation, emotional understanding, and everyday functioning in individuals with autism. I hope that this discussion will deepen your insight, inspire empathy, and offer actionable strategies to foster more meaningful support. Let's begin by discovering how better understanding of interoception can transform all of us. So let's take a moment and think, how do you know you're hungry? Maybe it starts with a dull sensation or an emptiness in your stomach, or maybe a growl. How do you know when you need to use a bathroom? Maybe a tightening sensation or a pressure in your stomach, right? These are the examples of interoception, your body's own ways of communicating its internal state to you. But what if you couldn't understand these signs? This is what is exactly happening in autism. What appears to us as a sudden meltdown or avoidance of using a toilet or a refusal to eat food may actually be a difficulty in feeling or understanding what your body is saying. So, what is interoception? Interoception is our internal sensory system, the way our brain receives, interprets, and responds to signals from inside our body. According to Craig in 2002, who was the first one to talk of interoception, he refers to the sense of physiological condition of entire body as interoception. This includes signals like hunger and fullness, thirst, pain, temperature, feeling emotions, recognizing your heartbeat, bladder pressure, pain, emotional arousal, and so on. Now let's zoom into how interoception and its relation to other senses is. So, exteroception is what we mostly think of as five senses: the sense of touch, vision, hearing, smell, and taste. It basically connects us with the external environment. Next is proprioception. Proprioception gives us the sense of where our body is in the space. It helps us move without watching our limbs. But interoception, this is different. Interoception is how we feel what's happening inside us. It is silent, often subconscious, but is very crucial, letting us know when to eat, rest, breathe deeper, or calm down. These senses don't work separate from each other. In fact, interoception is the one which integrates information from both proprioception and exteroception, and it helps us to form a full body understanding of our state. For example, when we feel nervous before speaking, we might notice our heart racing really fast. We may notice the shaky hands. So, the heart beat racing fast is interoception, shaky hands is proprioception, and maybe an increased noise sensitivity could be exteroception. Together, we understand, oh, I am really anxious. And that is when our brain tells us to just calm down. So, when interoception is not fully developed in conditions like autism, it just doesn't help us understand that I'm anxious. So, if I don't understand, how do you expect me to calm down? This is when interoception is directly related to emotional awareness and self regulation. Let's take a look at what research says about interoception. So, Craig in 2002, as I said, was the first one to articulate the idea that interoception is foundation of emotional experience. In his 2009 follow up, Craig also linked poor interoceptive awareness with increased anxiety and difficulties in emotional understanding. So he proposed that when someone cannot properly sense or interpret their internal state, it directly impacts their emotional regulation. Next study in 2017 took this further. Their work connects alexithymia, a condition where individuals have trouble identifying and describing their emotions with multiple domain interoceptive failures. Many individuals who exhibit this condition, their brain may not be receiving or interpreting enough interoceptive inputs across various channels. And lastly, Kelly Mahler in 2018, whose work is widely applied today in therapy, brings more functional sense to this. She emphasized how interoception affects everyday tasks like toileting, recognizing emotional states, and engaging in daily self regulation routines. So, for many children with autism, disruption in interoception makes it hard to understand what they need to do when it's a bathroom need, or when they are tired or hungry, or even when they are dysregulated. So, they don't identify these signs and thus they don't understand what to do to regulate themselves. Now, let's understand the brain and look at the key areas where interoception actually happens. First, the insular cortex. This is the central player here. It acts like a command center for interpreting what's happening inside our body. We can think of it as three parts. First is posterior insula, second is mid insula, third is anterior insula. So the posterior one is like the body's inbox. It receives all the interoceptive data from various areas and it helps us relate it to pain, temperature, and the other internal senses. The mid insula is an integrator. It combines all the body signals with the emotional and sensory input. The third one, anterior, is where the awareness comes in. It links those internal sensations with conscious emotional experiences, like me recognizing that I'm feeling anxious or I feel calm. This happens at the anterior insula. So, this region is often considered the main center of interoception and self awareness. It's the space where body meets the mind. Along with the insula, the next one is anterior cingulate cortex, which plays a supportive yet powerful role. This ACC helps monitor internal conflicts and it regulates emotional responses, especially to pain or discomfort. It works in close relationship with the anterior insula to ensure we stay balanced, not only physically, but also emotionally. Next is amygdala. It is the best known center for fear and emotional processing. Thus, it helps attach emotional value to bodily sensations. Hypothalamus is our body's thermostat, constantly monitoring and maintaining homeostasis, which includes hunger, thirst, body temperature, and even fatigue. It collects inputs from the body and sends all those signals to the brainstem and the cortex, helping keep our internal environment balanced. Finally, we have orbitofrontal and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. These are the brain's decision makers and regulation zones. They allow us to reflect on internal states, assign meaning, and make choices. So, if we have to put this into a diagram, this is how it would look. The green dashed arrows represent various inputs, real time signals from the body traveling up via vagus nerve, spinal cord, and brainstem to the insula. The blue arrows, the solid blue arrows, are interoceptive prediction signals. These are the ones which carry expectations, such as when I feel full after eating. So if I've eaten my food, I start feeling full. This is where I get the indication that I'm done eating. Now I should not eat anymore. The dashed blue lines indicate prediction error signals. Imagine I feel hungry even after I've eaten a complete meal. So these are the error signals which help us to understand there is some problem and I should regulate myself. Red arrows show visceromotor prediction signals which prepare our body to respond to certain adjustments like heart rate or gut activity. So, if my heart rate increases and I identify it, I will try to calm down. So all this happens through these red arrows. This basically shows that interoception is a complex feedback system and it is dynamic in nature. It keeps changing over the time through various inputs. So the signals ascend from the bottom areas to the brain, and from the brain, their prediction takes place, the understanding takes place, and that's how we regulate ourselves. Now imagine in autism, this whole loop is something that is disrupted. Either there's a problem in sensing these signals, or predicting it, or say correcting it. This is where the challenges take place, and we do not see them regulating themselves emotionally or by themselves. Let's understand this in detail. So, in autism, interoceptive difficulties can lead to a mismatch between what the body feels and how the brain interprets it. This affects emotional regulation, self care, and behaviors in everyday life. What these children may do: they may have difficulty recognizing hunger, thirst, or pain, difficulty in their toileting needs, struggle with emotional regulation, and a lot more. And all this has a research evidence. Importantly, the research shows us that interoception affects behavior, emotional regulation, and daily functioning, not only in bodily sensations, but also in various other areas. To get this more clear, we have some case studies. Like Ria, who's age 6, is toilet trained, but she frequently has accidents in school. When asked, she says she didn't feel the need until it was too late for the toilet. This is classic example of poor interoceptive awareness. And in this case, not registering the bladder pressure in time is the key problem. Sadly, such issues are often misread as laziness or defiance when in fact the child is just missing these body cues. Aryan, 8 years, throws a chair in class when he is asked to finish his work. But when we look closer, there were a lot of moments where he was clenching his fist and shifting from his chair. This behavior wasn't sudden. It was followed by a rising internal discomfort, possibly a sensory overload or an anxiety. But because he couldn't identify these signals, he could not regulate those. Probably he was feeling hot or his heart was beating faster. But failing to recognize these signals made him not being able to self regulate until it was too late. Ananya skips most of her lunch. She says she's not hungry when the food is served, but she becomes very irritated and distracted mid session. What is the interoception link? There are inaccurate hunger cues, misunderstood internal states, and this basically leaves her with a dip in energy, poor attention, and potential nutritional concerns. The functional impacts of this interoceptive problems could be at self-care routines like toileting, problems with self-regulation or emotional regulations, thereby leading to some meltdowns or difficulty in emotionally connecting to others. Learning, so difficulty in frequent emotional interruptions due to unrecognized discomfort, and problems with social interaction. So, real life impact, how do we face? Interoceptive differences are frequently observed in individuals with autism. It affects not just body sensation, but also their behavior, social communication, and independence in daily routine. Thereby, understanding this area will help us reframe behaviors, offer better support, and design targeted interventions. How do we do this? So, to support individuals with these problems, especially the ones with autism, it is very important to first identify how their internal body awareness is actually functioning. Some children may underdetect signals, the others may overdetect them. So, first such tool to understand this is interoception sensory questionnaire. This is a 20-item Likert scale questionnaire developed specifically for autistic children to assess interoceptive processing issues. It includes both hypo and hyper responsiveness. Each item is scored on a scale of 5 from never to always, and it reflects everyday bodily experiences. The questionnaire is available as a self report for all older children or for adults, and as a parent report version for the younger ones. It gives quantitative profile of these interoceptive strengths and challenges, and thus helps us in guiding the therapy planning. Next one is Body Awareness Checklist by Mahler in 2018. This checklist is a part of Mahler's interoception curriculum and is a clinical tool. Remember, it is not a standardized test, but it is extremely useful for identifying observable interoceptive awarenesses. Unlike the ISQ, which relies on sensations, this checklist captures external indicators like, does the child dress appropriately for his or for the weather? Can he express his pain or hunger clearly? Do they recognize when they need the toilet? And such questions. So the focus is on observable functional outcomes, things we see in daily routines. Together, both such tools can help professionals build an individualized interoception profile. I have co developed another tool with Dr. Venkat Lakshmi, especially designed for parents of children with intellectual disabilities, but this can clearly be used with children with autism. This tool focuses on basic body awareness, toileting needs, and internal state recognition, and it is culturally and functionally relevant for Indian setup. This tool serves as a screening instrument and a baseline guide for interoception. It helps identify where the child is struggling, not just academically or behaviorally, but also in internal awareness level. It includes statements like, does the child feel hungry or thirsty and whether they express it? Does the child understand toilet needs or does he identify temperature changes? Again, this item is rated from 1 to 5 based on how consistently the child demonstrates these skills. Treatment of interoception. It is not a single person's job. We require a whole team to be working all together. OTs, speech language pathologies, educators, parents, everybody needs to be included here. It is important to use visual tools which can be downloaded or used in online platforms for daily practice and tracking. It can include body check charts, feeling thermometers, body sensation, emotional wheel, hunger fullness scale, toileting cues tracker, energy level meters. All such tools are not only useful during therapy but can be incorporated in home routines. Let us see them one by one. There could be a step by step planning, like in phase 1, there could be a body awareness foundation. This can include daily body checks, like what does my belly feel like, and then charting it on a visual chart. There could be a sensory labeling, like I am feeling tight, I am feeling hot, etc. So you bond the emotional areas with the sensations that the child is feeling. And then mirror the mimic games. This helps strengthen the connection between facial expressions and body sensations. Like, I am feeling worried, and this time this is how my face looks. Or I am feeling sleepy, and this is how I look, and so on. Linking sensation to emotion is the next step. In this, we can relate the body signals to the feelings through a body mapping, as can be seen in the figure. When I feel, say, angry, this is how I look. body emotion matching wheel. So there will be a wheel which would be matched to the child's emotions. Then there is a feeling thermometer. Using a color coded visual thermometer, children begin to rate the intensity of their emotions. So the thermometer would have a yellow color for mild, or a red color for strong, and an in between color for medium. So this is how they can tell us that I'm feeling frustrated mildly, or at a medium level, or at a really severe or strong level. Next can be body storytelling, where we create simple stories or comic strips like, my belly hurts, and when it hurts, this makes me worried. All such stories help children generalize what they are learning. The third phase could be functional interoception skills. This has various steps like toileting, hunger or fullness, and sleep awareness. So there are various charts that can be used, various scales that can be used, where the linkage can be done between the feelings and the body. And there could also be some checklists which can help children recognize this. So, as we can see in the image, we give experiences and then ask them to locate the body parts and then tell them what could be the feeling. So, when there is a growling in the stomach, it could be me feeling hungry. So, they start recognizing these feelings and put them into an interoception level. Fourth phase is self regulation strategies. This phase equips the child with practical emotion based strategies to manage internal states. Like we introduce, I feel so and so, like I feel angry, so I will squeeze my stress ball, or I feel nervous, so I will take 3 deep breaths. So, this is to teach them the self regulation. So, in the previous one, they have identified. So, here from here there is a body awareness foundation where they are just identifying what's happening. Here they are linking it to their emotion. Here they are recognizing which area is creating the emotion, that is the sign I get from which area. Like if I'm feeling hungry, the signs come from the stomach, not from my hand, not from my legs. When my heart beat raises, those signs come from my chest, not from my legs, not from my brain, etc. And here, how do I regulate it? So, if I have a growling in my stomach, the regulation happens by eating something. When I have a raising heartbeat, the regulation happens by just calming down or doing a deep breathing, etc. The next could be emotional zone breathing. Here we have color coded emotion zone posters. There could be the next one where there is break space, like when you're overstimulated, you can use a particular area in a classroom where you can just go and calm yourself down. Or there could be some sensory kits available. So when you're overstimulated, this is the area you need to go to self regulate yourself. And the last one is generalizing and routine integration. So in the morning, we do a morning check, a feelings thermometer. Then there should be a transition like ask what does your body feel now. So it can be given, say, every 1 hour. So we need to make sure that all this is taken in a routine every single day in the child. So every day morning when the child wakes up, he's going to do a body check. Then there would be a 1 hour transition every time. So every time in 1 hour, the child is going to check how he is feeling. Then there could be before the meals. So, right before the meals, how hungry are you? Whether you really want to eat or you want to eat after 1 hour, etc. Or it could be after every activity. So, one 15-minute activity is done, and the child is going to check after 15 minutes. Is your heart beating fast? Are you feeling over stimulated? And so on. What do we understand through this whole session? Interoception is foundational to self regulation, body awareness, and emotional well being. Children with autism often experience disruptive interoceptive signals. So, if I try to train them externally, like targeting their behaviors or telling them to calm down repeatedly, or giving them just occupational therapy, it may not just help. The support could be possible through structured, consistent, compassionate strategies, which should compulsorily include interoception. So, the more they identify their body needs, the better it gets to train them. So, as we come to an end of today's session, I would like to leave you with one powerful reminder. Interoception support is not a solo journey, it's a shared responsibility. What we've explored today, awareness, emotion, mapping, regulation, all this can only succeed when we build a collaborative network around the child. This includes therapists and educators who guide skill building, parents and caregivers who reinforce it at home, doctors who recognize early signs, and the program planners who can provide us with materials that help in interoceptive development. Each member of this team holds a unique key to unlocking the child's understanding of inner world. Together, we help the child not just manage these behaviors, but connect with their body, trust their feelings, and thrive with dignity. Thank you.